Jake Harrison stood at the observation deck of Unity 1, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue planet looked peaceful from up here, but Jake knew better. As commander of Earth Defense Command, he had seen enough threats to know that peace never lasted long. The coffee in his hand had gone cold hours ago. He had been staring at the same reports all morning. Mars Colony 3 was having problems with their fusion reactors again. A mining operation on Europa needed more supplies. Normal problems for a normal day in 2157. That was when Lieutenant Amy Foster burst through the door. "Commander, you need to see this," Amy said, her face pale. She was holding a data pad, and her hands were shaking slightly. Jake set down his coffee and turned to face her. Amy was one of his best intelligence analysts. She never got excited about small things. If she was worried, there was a good reason. "What is it, Foster?" "Sir, we're picking up massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Multiple contacts, all heading toward Earth." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How many ships?" 12 confirmed, sir. Maybe more. "They're huge. Each one is at least 3 times the size of Unity 1. Jake grabbed his unit and activated the station-wide. Alert. Red lights began flashing throughout Unity 1. Within minutes, the command center was filled with officers running to their stations. Dr. Kevin Walsh was the first to arrive. The xenobiologist looked confused and excited at the same time. "Jake, what's happening? Are we finally meeting someone?" "We're about to find out," Jake replied. He turned to his communications officer. "Lieutenant Bell, any response to our hail?" "Nothing yet, sir." "But wait. Ryan Bell pressed his headset closer to his ear. "I'm getting something. It's not like any signal I've ever heard." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something incredible. The being on the screen was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It wore what looked like a uniform, but the material seemed to shift colors as it moved. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was calm and musical. "I am Ambassador Zixthara of the Kethran species. We represent the Galactic Protectorate." Jake stepped forward. "This is Commander Jake Harrison of Earth Defense Command. What brings you to our system?" "We come in peace, Commander Harrison. We have been watching your species for many of your years. You have reached a point in your development where you require our protection." "Protection from what?" Ambassador Zextara's expression didn't change, but Jake noticed a small pause before. The alien answered, "The galaxy is filled with dangers, Commander. Species that would take advantage of young civilizations like yours. We have formed the Protectorate to shield worlds like Earth from these threats." Amy stepped closer to Jake and whispered, "Sir, I'm detecting 11 more ships taking positions around Earth. They're not aggressive formations, but they're definitely surrounding us." Jake nodded slightly to show he heard her, but kept his eyes on the screen. "What kind of protection are we talking about, Ambassador?" "We offer many things," Zexthara replied. "Advanced medical technology that could end disease on your world. Energy systems that would give you unlimited clean power. Knowledge that would advance your civilization by thousands of years." Dr. Walsh couldn't contain his excitement. "This is incredible, Jake. Think of what we could learn from them." But Jake was thinking about something else. "What do you want?" "In return?" "Very little," the ambassador said. "We would need to establish monitoring stations on your world and your colonies. This would allow us to watch for threats and coordinate your protection. We would also need to study your species to better understand how to help you." "Study us how?" "Simple observations. We would monitor your communications, your genetic patterns, your social structures. This information helps us provide better protection services." Amy looked uncomfortable. She leaned close to Jake again. "Commander, they're asking for a lot of access to our private information." Jake nodded. Ambassador, we appreciate your offer, but this is a big decision. We'll need time to discuss this with our leaders. Of course, Zexthara said. We understand that trust must be built slowly. However, I must tell you that time is important. The threats we protect against do not wait for diplomatic discussions. What threats exactly? Jake asked the ambassadors. Pause was longer this time. There are many dangers in the cosmos, Commander. Species that would exploit your innocence. Pirates who raid young worlds for slaves. Empires that consume weaker civilizations. The galaxy is not a safe place for those who stand alone. Something about the way Zexthara spoke made Jake uncomfortable. The words sounded rehearsed, like a speech the alien had given many times before. We'll contact our government immediately, Jake said. How long can you wait for an answer? We will remain in your system for 7 of your days. After that, we must continue our mission to protect other worlds. This offer may not come again. The screen went dark, leaving the command center in tense silence. Dr. Walsh was the first to speak. Jake, this could be the greatest moment in human history. They're offering us technologies we won't develop for centuries. Maybe, Jake replied. Foster, I want a full analysis of those ships. Find out everything you can about their weapons, their technology, everything. Already on it, sir. Jake activated his secure communication link to Earth within an hour. He was speaking directly to President Linda Martinez. Commander Harrison, the president said from her office in Washington. I've been briefed on the situation. What's your assessment? Honestly, Madam President, something feels wrong. They're offering us incredible technology, but they want complete access to our world in return. And when I ask them about specific threats, their answers are vague. Dr. Walsh believes this could be legitimate, the president said. He's recommending we accept their offer. With respect, ma'am, Dr. Walsh is a scientist. He sees the potential benefits. I see the potential risks. President Martinez was quiet for a moment. What kind of risks? They have 12 massive ships surrounding our planet. They could destroy us easily if they wanted to. But instead, they're offering us protection and advanced technology. Why? What do they really want? You think this is some kind of trap? I think we need to be very careful. We don't know anything about these aliens or their protectorate. We don't know what threats they're supposedly protecting us from, and they're pressuring us to make a quick decision. The president sighed. I'm calling an emergency session with world leaders. We'll need to make a decision within the week. After the call ended, Jake found Amy working at her analysis station. She looked up as he approached. Find anything interesting? Maybe, Amy said. I've been monitoring their communications since they arrived. Most of it is encrypted, but I caught something strange. She pulled up a data stream on her screen. They mentioned something called the Harvest Protocol. I don't know what it means, but they seemed very interested in our genetic diversity. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Harvest Protocol? Yes, sir. And there's something else. I've been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. The patterns match some theoretical designs for mind control technology. Mind control? It's just a theory, sir. But the frequency patterns are similar to research on neural manipulation that was banned back in 2089. Jake stared at the data on Amy's screen. Everything about this situation felt wrong. The aliens were too helpful, too, eager to give them advanced technology. And now there were hints about harvest protocols and mind control. Keep monitoring their communications, he told Amy. And keep this information between us for now. If these aliens aren't what they seem, we need to be ready. Amy nodded. Yes, sir. Jake looked out at the stars, where 12 alien ships waited for humanity's answer. He had a feeling that whatever decision they made would change everything. The question was whether it would change things for better or worse, in 7 days. They would have to choose. But Jake was already beginning to suspect that the choice wasn't really about protection at all. It was about something much more dangerous. 3 months had passed since the Protectorate ships had arrived. The world leaders had decided to accept the aliens' offer of protection. Now, strange towers rose from the ground in 12 locations around Earth. The aliens called them monitoring. STATIONS Dr. Helen Cooper knelt beside one of the towers, running her quantum scanner over its smooth surface. The readings made no sense. According to her instruments, the tower was producing energy patterns that seemed impossible. "This doesn't match what they told us," she muttered to herself. Helen was one of Earth's best quantum physicists. She had been chosen to study the alien technology to help humanity understand their new protectors. But what she was finding worried her. The monitoring stations were supposed to watch for threats from space. They were supposed to be simple observation posts. But Helen's scans showed something very different. The towers weren't just watching. They were mapping. Each tower was sending out invisible waves that touched every person within 50 miles. The waves measured brain patterns, genetic information, and even emotional responses. It was like the aliens were creating a detailed map of every human on Earth. Helen packed up her equipment and drove back to her lab. She needed to talk to someone about this, but she wasn't sure who to trust. The government was excited about all the new technology the aliens were sharing. Most scientists were too busy studying alien medicine and energy systems to ask hard questions. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Bell was having his own doubts. He had been selected to command the first human mission to visit a protectorate world. It was supposed to be an honor, a chance to see how advanced civilizations lived under alien protection. The world they visited was called Valdris. It orbited a yellow star about 30 light years from Earth. According to the Protectorate, the Valdrians had been under their protection for over 200 years. Ryan expected to find a paradise. Instead, he found something that made his stomach turn. The Valdrians lived in simple villages scattered across their planet. They had no advanced technology, no space travel, no computers, or even electric lights. They farmed with primitive tools and lived in houses made of mud and stone. "I don't understand," Ryan said to his Protectorate guide, a Catherine officer named Veltar. "These people look like they're living in the past. Where is all the advanced technology you promised them?" Veltar's expression didn't change. The Valdrians chose simplicity over advancement. They found that a simple life brings more happiness than complex technology. They chose this? Yes. After many years of protection, most species discover that. They prefer a peaceful, uncomplicated existence. Ryan walked through one of the Valdrian villages. The people seemed healthy, but somehow empty. They moved slowly, smiled little, and showed no curiosity about the humans visiting their world. It was like they were sleepwalking through their lives. That night, Ryan managed to speak privately with one of the Valdrian elders. The old alien spoke in broken galactic standard, the common language used by the Protectorate. "You are the new ones," the elder said quietly, "the ones they just found." "Yes," Ryan replied. "We're from Earth." The elder looked around nervously, then leaned closer. "They came to protect us too. Long ago, said they would keep us safe from the dangers. Weren't you happy to be protected?" The elder's eyes grew sad. "At first, yes. They gave us medicine, fixed our diseases, made our crops grow better. We thought they were gods. What changed? Slowly, things began to change. We stopped building new things, stopped exploring, stopped dreaming. They said it was better to be content with what we had, safer." Ryan felt a chill. "What happened to your technology? Your spaceships?" "Gone. They said we didn't need them anymore. They would handle all travel between stars." They would protect us from everything. The elder grabbed Ryan's arm. Now we are livestock. Safe, fed, protected livestock. Before Ryan could ask more questions, Veltar appeared. Captain Bell, it is time to return to your ship. We have a schedule to maintain. The elder quickly walked away, but not before whispering one last thing to Ryan. Save yourselves while you still can. Back on Earth, Amy Foster was working late in her intelligence office. She had been secretly monitoring Protectorate communications for weeks. Most of their messages were heavily encrypted, but Amy was good at finding patterns. She had brought in Lisa Grant, one of Earth's best computer programmers, to help crack the alien codes. Lisa was young and brilliant, and she had a talent for seeing patterns that others missed. I think I found something, Lisa said, pointing at her screen. Look at this transmission from yesterday. Amy leaned over to read the decoded message. Her blood ran cold. Earth specimens showing excellent genetic diversity, the message read. Cultural complexity higher than expected. Recommend accelerated timeline for Phase 2 implementation. Harvest potential. Maximum? Harvest potential? Amy whispered. What does that mean? Lisa pulled up another decoded message. This one mentions something called maturation protocols. It says Earth's maturation timeline has been set for 18 months. Amy sat down heavily. We need to tell Commander Harrison about this. But before they could contact Jake, they intercepted another message that made everything clear. This one was from Ambassador Zexthara to someone called the High Collector. The Earth specimens show unusual resistance to standard pacification frequencies, the message said. Their genetic diversity creates interference patterns. Recommend enhanced broadcasting from monitoring stations. Begin cultural suppression protocols immediately. Amy and Lisa stared at each other. The truth was worse than they had imagined. The monitoring stations weren't just watching humans. They were trying to control them. Amy grabbed her secure phone and called Jake Harrison. Commander, we have a problem. A big one. Within an hour, Jake was sitting in Amy's office with Dr. Cooper and Captain Bell, who had just returned from Valdris. They compared their discoveries, and the picture that emerged was terrifying. They're not protecting us, Jake said grimly. They're preparing us for something. Dr. Cooper nodded. The monitoring stations are broadcasting frequencies designed to make people more passive, more accepting. I've been tracking the effects, and it's already starting to work. Crime rates are down, but so are innovation rates. People are becoming more compliant. Captain Bell told them about what he had seen. On Valdris, that elder was right. They're turning entire civilizations into livestock. Protected, cared for, but completely controlled. Amy showed them the decoded messages. They're planning something called Phase 2 for Earth, and they keep mentioning harvest protocols. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see one of the alien monitoring towers in the distance. It looked innocent enough, but now he knew what it really was. How long do we have? He asked. Based on their communications, maybe 18 months before they move to Phase 2, whatever that is, Amy replied. And how many people know about this? Just us, Dr. Cooper said. If we tell anyone else, the aliens might detect our communications. They're monitoring everything. Jake turned back to face the group. Then we have a choice. We can try to expose them and hope someone believes us. Or we can start planning to fight back. Fight back? Lisa asked. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. How can we possibly fight them? Jake smiled grimly. The same way humans have always fought superior enemies. We get smart, we get creative, and we use their expectations against them. Amy looked skeptical. What do you mean? They think they understand us. They think we're just another species that will slowly accept their control. But they've made one mistake. What's that? They've never dealt with humans before. And humans have one trait that seems to make their control technology less effective. Dr. Cooper leaned forward. What trait? We don't like being told what to do. And we really don't like being lied to. Jake looked around the room at his small team. We have 18 months to figure out how to save our species. We can't use normal communications. We can't trust our government. We can't rely on our military. So what can we do? Captain Bell asked. We start small. We stay hidden. And we use the one advantage we have that they don't expect. Which is? Jake's smile grew wider. Humans are really, really good at being sneaky. Outside, the alien monitoring tower continued its quiet work, sending invisible waves across the city. But now, at least a few humans knew what those waves were really for. And those humans were beginning to plan. The aliens had made their first mistake. They had assumed the humans would react like every other species they had encountered. They had assumed that superior technology would be enough to control Earth's population. They were about to learn that humans didn't make assumptions. Humans asked questions. And the most dangerous question of all was the one Jake Harrison had asked. On that first day, from who do we need protection? Now they were beginning to find the answer. And they didn't like what they were learning. Jake Harrison stood in the abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York City. It had taken 6 months to find a place where they could meet without the aliens detecting them. The old subway system, buried deep underground, seemed to block the protectorates. Scanning technology dot around him set the small group that had become Earth's secret resistance. Amy Foster, Dr. Helen Cooper, Captain Ryan Bell, Lisa Grant, and 3 new faces, Major Tony Davis, Colonel Beth Morgan, and Dr. Kevin Walsh, who had finally seen the truth about their alien protectors. What do we know? Jake asked, looking. Around the circle. Dr. Cooper spoke first. The monitoring stations are definitely mind control devices. They're broadcasting frequencies that make people more passive than accepting. The effect is subtle, but measurable. In areas near the towers, people are less likely to question authority, less likely to innovate, and more likely to follow simple commands. Amy added, I've decoded more of their communications. The Galactic Protectorate has been doing this for thousands of years. They find civilizations that are just reaching space travel capability, offer them protection, then slowly take control. How? Many species have they done this to? Major Davis asked. At least 47 that I can confirm, Amy replied. Maybe more. Each one follows the same pattern. First contact, offer of protection, monitoring stations, gradual pacification, then something they call the Great Harvest. Colonel Morgan leaned forward. What's the Great Harvest? Lisa Grant pulled out a tablet and showed them decoded alien documents. From what I can understand, they collect the best genetic material, cultural innovations, and technological developments from each species. Then they use that information to improve their own civilization. What happens to the original species? Dr. Walsh asked, though he looked like he already knew the answer. They become what Ryan saw on Valdris, Jake said. Passive, simple, controlled, living museums of what they used to be. Captain Bell nodded grimly. I've been back to Valdris twice now, using different cover stories. Each time, the people seem a little more empty, a little less aware. It's like watching a species slowly die. Dr. Cooper pulled up her own research. I've been studying the Protectorate's own biology. This is the most disturbing part. They weren't always like this. They were once a species called the Kethra. They were artists, philosophers, explorers. What happened to them? They were the first species to be protected by this system. But instead of resisting, they eventually became the administrators of their own oppression. They forgot what they used to be and started believing they were born to rule other species. Amy looked sick. So they're victims too? In a way, yes, but they're also willing participants now. They've been doing this for so long that they can't imagine any other way of life. Jake stood up and began pacing in the small space. Okay, so we know what they're doing and why they're doing it. The question is, how do we stop them? We can't fight them directly, Major Davis said. Their ships could destroy our entire planet in minutes. And we can't expose them through normal channels, Colonel Morgan added. The government officials are already being affected by the mind control broadcasts. They're becoming more compliant with alien suggestions every day. Lisa raised her hand. I might have an idea. I've been studying their computer systems. They're incredibly advanced, but they have one weakness. What's that? They're designed to handle data from species that think in predictable patterns. But human creativity creates what they call chaos data. Our randomness and unpredictability actually interfere with their systems. Dr. Cooper got excited. That explains why the mind control isn't working as well on humans as it did on other species. Our diversity and individuality create interference patterns. Amy pulled out another decoded message. Look at this recent communication. They're frustrated with us. They say humans are showing unusual resistance to standard protocols, and that our chaotic thought patterns are making their job harder. Jake stopped pacing. So our biggest weakness as a species might actually be our greatest strength against them. What do you mean? Dr. Walsh asked. Think about it. Every other species they've encountered probably had similar individuals, similar ways of thinking, similar cultures. But humans? We're all different. We think differently, act differently, believe different things. Lisa nodded enthusiastically. And that difference creates noise in their systems. Like trying to tune a radio with too many stations broadcasting at once. Can we use that somehow? Captain Bell asked. Jake smiled for the first time in months. Maybe we can. Lisa, how hard would it be to create even more chaos in their systems? What do you mean? I mean, what if we could overload them with human randomness? What if we could broadcast so much chaotic human data that their systems couldn't handle it? Lisa thought for a moment. It might work, but we'd need access to their main communication network, and we'd need a way to coordinate the broadcast without them detecting our preparations. Amy leaned back against the tunnel wall. I might know how to do that. Remember, they're monitoring our communications, but they're looking for military threats and resistance movements. They're not paying attention to entertainment. Entertainment? Movies, books, games, music. They think it's harmless. But what if we could hide messages in entertainment? What if we could use popular culture to wake people up and coordinate our response? Dr. Cooper got excited. That's brilliant. We could create movies and shows that seem like fiction, but actually contain real information about the aliens. People would think they're just watching science fiction. Colonel Morgan nodded. And we could use social media and gaming platforms to coordinate our response. The aliens wouldn't expect us to organize through entertainment channels. Jake felt hope. For the first time since this nightmare began. How long would it take to set this up? 6 months, maybe 8 if we're careful, Lisa said. We'd need to recruit people in the entertainment industry, but we'd have to be very selective. We can only trust people who haven't been affected by the mind control yet. Amy pulled up a map on her tablet. I've been tracking the effects of the monitoring stations. The mind control works better in areas with high population density, but there are still pockets of people in rural areas who seem largely unaffected. That's our recruitment base, Jake said. We start there and work our way in. Dr. Walsh looked worried. What if they detect what we're doing? Then we're all dead, Jake replied honestly. But if we do nothing, we're dead anyway. At least this way, we go down fighting. Major Davis stood up. I'm in. What do you need from me? Military contacts, who might still be thinking clearly. People who can help us when the time comes for direct action. Colonel Morgan nodded. I can help with that. What about weapons? If this comes down to a fight, we'll need more than chaos data. Captain Bell spoke up. I've been working with some Free World Alliance contacts. They're species that either escaped Protectorate control or never accepted it in the first place. They might be able to help us with weapons and technology. Jake looked around the group. All right, here's the plan. We have maybe a year before they move to Phase 2 of their operation. We spend the next 6 months quietly recruiting and preparing. We create entertainment that wakes people up without making it obvious what we're doing. We build a network of resistance members using channels the aliens aren't monitoring. And then, Amy asked, then we show them what happens when you try to control a species that refuses to be controlled. Dr. Cooper raised a concern. What about the people who are already being affected by the mind control? Government officials, military leaders, scientists working directly with the aliens? We'll have to work around them, Jake said sadly. Some of them might be saved if we can shut down the mind control systems. Others might be too far gone. Lisa was already making notes on her tablet. I'll start working on the technical side. We'll need viruses that can hide in entertainment data, communication systems that look like gaming networks, and ways to coordinate large groups without using traditional channels. Amy stood up. I'll keep monitoring their communications. If they start to suspect what we're doing, we need to know immediately. The meeting broke up, each member heading back to their regular lives. They had to maintain their normal routines to avoid suspicion. But now they had a plan, and more importantly, they had hope. As Jake walked back through the dark tunnel, he thought about what they were attempting. It was insane. A small group of humans trying to defeat an alien empire that had been conquering species for thousands of years. But then he remembered something Amy had discovered in the alien communications. The Protectorate was worried about humans. They had never encountered a species quite like humanity before. Earth's genetic diversity, cultural complexity, and stubborn independence were all causing problems for their usual methods. Maybe that was enough. Maybe being human was enough. Jake climbed back up to the surface, where the alien monitoring tower stood silent against the night sky. Soon, that tower and all the others would learn what it meant to try to control a species that had spent its entire history refusing to be controlled. The aliens had made their biggest mistake yet. They had given humans time to figure out what was happening. And humans, when they had time to think, could be very dangerous indeed. The coffee shop in downtown Denver looked normal from the outside. Inside, Sarah Kim sat at a corner table, typing on her laptop. To anyone watching, she appeared to be working on a screenplay. In reality, she was encoding resistance messages into what would become the most popular science fiction movie of the year. Sarah was one of Hollywood's rising screenwriters. She was also one of the 123 people Jake Harrison had secretly recruited over the past 8 months. The resistance had grown carefully, selecting only people in rural areas, or those who showed clear signs of independence despite living near monitoring stations. The alien overlords promise peace, Sarah typed, making it look like dialogue for her fictional script. But anyone who knew the code would understand the real message. Phase 2 begins in 60 days. Prepare for coordinated response. Across the country, similar scenes were playing out. In Nashville, musician Danny Wright was recording a song that sounded like a love ballad, but contained instructions for building signal jammers. In Austin, game developer Maria Santos was programming what appeared to be a simple mobile game, but actually served as a communication network for resistance members. The plan was working better than Jake had hoped. The aliens were so focused on monitoring military and government communications that they completely ignored the entertainment industry. They saw movies, music, and games as harmless distractions that actually helped keep humans docile. They were wrong. Jake sat in his office at Unity 1, reviewing reports that would have horrified him a year ago. Global innovation rates had dropped 30%. Applications for higher education were down 20%. Even crime rates were falling, which sounded good until you realized it meant people were losing their will to rebel against anything. The mind control was working. Slowly but steadily, humanity was becoming more passive, more accepting, more willing to let others make decisions for them. In another 6 months, it might be too late to reverse the effects. Amy Foster knocked on his door. "Commander, we've got a problem." Jake looked up from his reports. "What now?" "I intercepted a message from Ambassador Zex Thara to the High Collector. They're moving up their timeline. Phase 2 starts in 30 days, not 60. Jake felt his stomach drop. Why the change? Amy sat down and pulled out her tablet. They're detecting what they call anomalous cultural patterns in human entertainment. They don't know what we're doing exactly, but they know something is different. Do they suspect we're organizing resistance? Not yet. But they're not taking any chances. They want to begin full pacification protocols before whatever we're doing can spread further. Jake activated his secure communication system. Within minutes, he was speaking to Dr. Cooper, Captain Bell, and Lisa Grant through an encrypted channel that ran through a popular online game. "We're out of time," he told them. "We need to move now." Dr. Cooper's voice came through with a pixelated avatar. "The jamming devices aren't ready. We need at least 2 more weeks." "We don't have 2 weeks. Lisa, what's the status on the virus?" Lisa's avatar flickered as she checked her data. "It's ready, but it's untested. If we deploy it and it doesn't work, they'll know what we're doing." Captain Bell spoke up. "My Free World Alliance contacts are in position. They can provide a distraction, but they can't fight the Protectorate fleet directly." Jake made the hardest decision of his life. We go with what we have. Lisa, prepare the virus for deployment. Cooper, get those jammers working, even if they're not perfect. Bell, tell your alien friends to be ready. What about the resistance network? Amy asked. Most of our people aren't ready for direct action. Then we improvise. Send out the emergency activation codes through all our entertainment channels. Everyone who's been following our hidden messages will know what to do. Over the next 72 hours, something unprecedented happened on Earth. It started small and grew quickly, spreading through social media, streaming platforms, and gaming networks. A movie appeared online overnight. It looked like a low-budget science fiction film, but anyone who watched it carefully would recognize real alien technology and real documentation of the Protectorate's activities. Within 6 hours, it had been viewed 10 million times. A song started trending on all the music platforms. The lyrics seemed to be about lost love, but when played backwards, they contained detailed instructions for disrupting alien communication systems. Teenagers around the world began uploading their own versions, each one spreading the hidden message further. A mobile game went viral, with millions of players joining in what seemed like a simple space strategy game. But players who reached certain levels found themselves connected to a real communication network, coordinated with others who had discovered the truth about Earth's protectors. Dr. Cooper stood on a rooftop in Chicago, looking at the monitoring station 2 blocks away. In her backpack was one of the signal jammers they had built in secret. It wasn't perfect, but it would work for a few hours. She activated the device and watched her handheld scanner. The alien broadcasts from the tower immediately became erratic. Within minutes, she could see the effects on the street below. People seemed to wake up, looking around with more awareness than they had shown in months. Across the city, 19 other jammers activated simultaneously. Across the country, similar operations were happening in 43 cities. It wasn't enough to shut down the mind control completely, but it was enough to give millions of people a few hours of clear thinking. And humans, when they could think clearly, were very good at recognizing when someone was trying to control them. Captain Bell sat in the cockpit of a stolen Protectorate shuttle, accompanied by 3 alien allies from the Free World Alliance. His mission was simple but dangerous. Plant Lisa's virus directly into the main Protectorate communication hub on their command ship. "Are you sure about this, Human Ryan?" asked Zorak, a warrior from a species that had fought the Protectorate for 2 centuries. "If we are caught, they will execute us all." "If we don't do this, my entire species becomes livestock?" Bell replied. "I'd rather die fighting than live as a slave." The shuttle approached the massive Protectorate command ship. Bell's heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. He had practiced this approach 100 times in simulation. "Command ship to shuttle. 7 Alpha," came a voice over the communication system. "State your purpose." Bell responded in perfect galactic standard. "Routine maintenance on communication array 3. Authorization code Delta-7-7-9. There was a pause. Bell held his breath. "Authorization confirmed. Proceed to docking bay 12. Lisa Grant sat in a basement in Seattle, surrounded by dozens of computer screens. She was connected to communication networks around the world, coordinating the largest cyber attack in human history. Her virus was ready. It was designed to look like random entertainment data, collection of human movies, music, books, and games. But hidden within that data were programs that would spread through the Protectorate's networks, causing chaos in their systems. The beauty of the virus was that it used humanities. The final confrontation came at dawn. Ambassador Zex Thara stood in the Unity 1 command center, flanked by Protectorate guards. Jake Harrison faced him across the room, unarmed but unafraid. Outside the windows, the alien fleet hung in space, their ships dark and silent after Lisa's virus had crashed their systems. "You have destroyed everything," Zex Thara said, his voice filled with something Jake had never heard from the alien. "Before, uncertainty, 2,000 years of order, thousands of protected species, all ruined by your chaos. Protected?" Jake laughed. "You mean enslaved? We've seen what you did to the Valdrians. What you planned to do to us. We brought peace. We brought safety. We eliminated war, suffering, competition. You eliminated choice," Amy Foster said, stepping up beside Jake. Around the command center, other resistance members had gathered. Dr. Cooper, Captain Bell, Lisa Grant, and dozens of others who had spent a year fighting for humanity's freedom. Zex Thara looked around at the humans surrounding him. "You do not understand. We were saving you from yourselves. Left alone, young species always destroy themselves. War, pollution, resource depletion. We have seen it countless times." Dr. Cooper stepped forward. "But we found your records, Zex Thara. We know what you used to be. The Kethra were artists, philosophers, explorers. You had your own dreams once." For a moment, something flickered in the alien's large, dark eyes. "The Kethra are gone. They were weak. We are strong." "No," Jake said quietly. "You're just scared. Scared of chaos. Scared of unpredictability. Scared of species that might be different from what you expect." Lisa pulled up a holographic display showing data from across the galaxy. "Your whole empire is collapsing. Once our virus spread to other Protectorate worlds, the controlled species started waking up. They're remembering who they used to be." "Impossible," Zex Thara whispered. "Humans don't think like other species," Amy explained. "Our culture is too diverse, too chaotic for your systems to handle." When we shared that chaos with the galaxy, it broke your control everywhere. Captain Bell added, "The Free World Alliance is already helping liberated worlds rebuild their civilizations. Your age of control is over." Zexthara looked out at his darkened fleet. "Then what happens to us? You will destroy us for what we have done?" Jake surprised everyone by shaking his head. "No, we're offering you something your protectorate never offered anyone else." "What?" "A choice." Jake activated a communication link to the entire protectorate fleet. "People of the Kethran species, this is Commander Jake Harrison of Earth. Your leaders told you that you were protecting the galaxy from chaos, but they were protecting themselves from change." He paused, looking directly at Zexthara. "We know your history. We know you were once explorers and dreamers like us. That part of you isn't gone. It's just been sleeping." Dr. Cooper stepped forward with a data pad. "We've been studying your original culture from before the Protectorate was formed. Your art, your music, your literature. It was beautiful. It was chaotic. It was alive. We can help you remember who you used to be," Amy offered. "Not as servants or slaves, but as equals, as friends." Around the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. Liberated species were offering their former captors the same choice: remember who you were, or continue living the lie. Some Protectorate members chose to flee deeper into space, unable to accept the loss of their power. But many others, like Zexthara, slowly began to remember what they had once been. The ambassador looked at the humans surrounding him. "You would trust us? After what we tried to do?" "Trust is earned," Jake replied. "But everyone deserves a chance to earn it." Months later, Jake stood in the same observation deck where this had all begun, watching Earth spin below. But now he wasn't alone. Beside him stood former Ambassador Zexthara, who had chosen to help establish the new Galactic Council of Free Worlds. "I still do not understand how you knew to resist," Zexthara said. "Every other species accepted our protection." Jake smiled. "You made one mistake. You assumed we'd react like everyone else. But humans have one trait that seems to be unique in the galaxy." "What is that?" "When someone promises to protect us, we always ask the same question." Zexthara looked confused. "What question?" Jake's smile grew wider. "From who?" "Outside, ships from dozens of worlds work together to explore the galaxy as equals." The age of protection was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it had started with the most human question of all: why should we trust you?